Welcome back, Mushroom Man Toad here, and today I have a very special crystal in my hand because it is time for an update to the Vimion mod. I'm super excited about this. After a very long time not having any updates to the mod at all, finally I'm here with a brand new one. It comes with lots of optimizations and a brand new boss fight. Just before we get into it, if you want to check it out for yourself, link will be available down in the description. Also, there should be timestamps on the YouTube video progress bar below that show you the different things I'm going to be covering in this video and what times those are at. So if you want to skip to one of those, you can, but I'd encourage you to stick around for the whole thing. I got a lot of neat stuff to show you, so let's get straight into it. So first things first, how are we going to encounter this boss? Well, over here, I have the gear to do exactly that. So as you may well remember from previous versions, in order to spawn the abominations, you would have to get your hands on mob souls. These could be farmed from any of the 5 animals, so sheep, cows, pigs, rabbits, and chickens. And once you'd gotten your hands on enough of those souls, you'd be able to get your hands on the abomination. I'll go through that process here quickly. It hasn't changed for the Stellarionic Abomination, but just really quickly, every time you kill one of these mobs using the Vimionite dagger, it has a chance to drop its soul. So, I have a bunch of 1 health sheep here, and hopefully we should see one of those souls dropping anytime now. And there we go! Finally got one! RNG was not my friend there, as you may be able to tell from the quantity of mutton in my inventory. Get yourself a sheep spirit. Normally it doesn't take that long. Of course, when you're showing it off. It inevitably will. So once you have your hands on enough of these sheep spirits, you don't need 64. You'll actually only need 2. I'll just grab the stack for the sake of demonstration. As well as some decent quality gear for fighting the boss. I've also brought some golden apples. These are not a requirement of fighting the boss by any stretch. I just don't want to look like a fool and die. So in order to start up this boss fight, you're going to have to get either a husk or a zombie pigman to kill 2 of these spirit animals. So let me just spawn in a spectral sheep here and demonstrate. So normally this husk will be coming straight for me, but as soon as I right click on this sheep with some wheat, he should change his mind about who the real enemy here is. Should probably put the wheat down, and he goes straight for the sheep. Once again, I'll just spawn one in as well, and as soon as they're spawned in, the husk will go straight for it. And once the husk is done being an embarrassment, you'll see the new boss will spawn. So let's take a moment before we get into this boss fight just to take a look at this guy. This is the Solarionic Abomination added in Vimion Mod Update 1.0 Pre-Release 2. And as a warning, before you get into this fight, don't try and battle him anywhere near anything you've built in your world that you like. Unlike the previous bosses where, like the Vimionic Abomination could kill your nearby animals, the Expionic Abomination didn't really damage terrain. This guy will do a number on the terrain, so be aware of that going into this fight. But with that said, I'm going to hop straight into the battle and show you the different phases of this boss fight. So once the boss fight begins, he will immediately begin to spawn meteorites that will fall down towards your location. Now these meteorites will do a substantial amount of damage if they hit you. Again, I'm in full diamond, and that one just missed. But you'll see, it'll do some damage and it'll set you on fire. And this is the first phase of this boss fight. So the Solarionic boss fight actually comes in 3 separate, distinct phases. The first one involves just dumping these meteors on you until he gets down to around about 60% health. At which point, and there you just saw it there, he'll begin his second phase of attacks, where he will begin to, let's see if we can get to do it again. Yeah, he'll send out that flamethrower at you, which will set you on fire if it makes contact. So, as we continue to whittle down his HP, the craters will grow in size as the fight progresses as well, the craters from the meteor. So keep that in mind and watch out where you're standing with the terrain. Now here we've reached the 3rd phase of the fight, where his health is below 33%. And hopefully he'll do it here for us in just a moment. But you see the flames around him grow intense, he'll rise up, and he'll explode majorly. And this is when I say, watch out for anything you've built. This is why. When that explosion goes off, it does a substantial amount of damage and sets everything on fire. It's like channeling the full power of the sun right there. The Stellarionic Abomination. So, hopefully we can get in here and get the kill on him before he kills us. Okay, so as soon as he goes for the rise up, I want to back off because that explosion will hurt if it goes off and you're nearby. So get back up in here, whack him once more, and he's dead. And we did indeed get his drops. Alright, so heading back into creative mode here once again, let's talk about these drops. So this is Solarioplasm. So like the abominations that came before, the Vimionic Abomination dropped Vimioplasm, the Expionic Abomination dropped Expioplasm, and now the Stellarionic Abomination will also drop Solarioplasm. Now, currently this item does not have a use, but if you stick around till the end of the video, I'll talk a little bit more about future development plans for this mod, and a little bit about where this item will eventually be used. It doesn't have any uses currently, but those are definitely coming soon. For now though, there's something else I'd like to show off about the Solarionic Abomination. So let's say you're in the middle of a boss fight, and it's getting a little bit later in the day. The Solarionic Abomination counts on the sun to channel its power. So, as the sun sets, you should really be looking to close out this fight as quickly as possible, because once the sun goes down, here we go, the sun is setting here, and just like that, he is transformed into the Lunarionic Abomination. If you looked up at his health bar up there, you'll see he's rapidly gaining HP. And indeed, once the sun sets, he transforms into a version that's more attuned to the moon, and channels its power for intense healing to wait for the following day to continue to attack you. So see, if I go into survival mode here, the Lunarionic Abomination, it will not try to attack me. But for all the punching I can do to it, it's not going to do any damage. Even if I give myself a diamond sword, I'm not going to be able to do enough damage to kill it through its Lunarionic phase. And so, if you're going to battle this guy, you probably want to do it as close to the start of the Minecraft day as possible, because if you lose track of time and the sun sets, you'll have to begin again the next day. Alright, but with all of that said, you may have noticed a little issue with this boss fight. You see, he's the Solarionic Abomination, and that has everything to do with the sun. But other dimensions don't necessarily have a sun. So, what happens if you try spawning the Solarionic Abomination in one of these dimensions? Well, let's head over here to this nether portal, head into the nether, and let's just take a look at exactly what ends up happening. So once we're in here, I should be able to take a zombie pigman, the other mob you can use to spawn in the Stellarionic Abomination, feed the sheep some wheat, and it will immediately be targeted. I'm going to go into creative here so I don't die instantly. But you'll see, the Solarionic Abomination is no longer so Solarionic. You'll see, he now becomes the Stellarionic Abomination, because other dimensions each have their home stars. See, we have the sun, so it's Solarionic in our dimension, but other dimensions, it'll behave a bit differently. So here we can see that in the nether, the Stellarionic Abomination actually becomes red. However, the actual progression of the fight is pretty much the same. You'll just have to think about the terrain a little differently as you go through the fight. But other than that, it should progress exactly the same way, but this time the boss is red. And there's one other thing I'd like to add to that. See, once you get him down to low HP, and you go in for the kill, you'll see that when this one dies, well, he didn't drop Solarioplasm at all. But instead he dropped Stellarioplasm. And in this case, it's red. So what's actually been done here is that for each dimension, the new abomination will take a different form depending on that dimension's home star. So in the nether it becomes red, and if we just switch over to the end really quick, he has a very different color once again. He's purple, and indeed he will drop a purple Stellarioplasm here. Now, for all intents and purposes, the Stellarioplasm will behave exactly the same way as Solarioplasm once their uses are implemented. They may just give different colors and maybe slightly different effects, but overall, it'll be pretty much the same. But you may be wondering if I just stopped at vanilla dimensions when adding in the places where this guy will have varied forms. And if you were wondering that, well, wonder no more. I'm going to load up a version of Modded here that includes a couple mods that add in some custom dimensions, and I'll show you what the Solarionic Abomination does when in those dimensions. So, just a moment. And so here I've landed in a mod that adds in a custom dimension. I won't go into the specifics of which mod that is, but here we can see we do in fact have a different variant of the Solarionic Abomination. In this case, it's orange, and it will drop an orange Solarioplasm. Now you can also find several other colors besides orange and red scattered throughout the different modded dimensions you may have in your world. For example, there are blue and white, as well as a couple of others you can find depending on which mods you have installed and which modded dimensions you're using. But you'll have to check out the Vimion Mod for yourself to find those in person. Alright, so we're now back in the world that just contains the Vimion Mod, because there's a few more things I want to show off here that are currently creative mode only but will soon be available in survival. So the first thing I want to show off is objectively the less impressive of the two, but in testing out the new customized flame particles I made, I also created some custom torches to go along with them, just as a way to test out the particles, and I decided to leave them in. These will be obtainable in survival soon, but currently are creative mode only, but if you want to use them in your build, well, there they are available to you to use. And yes, before somebody asks, I know the black one doesn't emit light, that's intentional. Alright, now on to the objectively cooler creative mode only feature that is currently in work in progress. I'm certain there are still a few weird bugs to work out with it, but it's pretty much entirely working right now, and if you want to have a play around with it, feel free, and I'll show you that right now. So that's going to be, if you go into the creative inventory, you'll find this item here called the Soul Harvester, which is basically a diamond sword in terms of stats, except it has a much higher attack speed. As you can see, it redraws much faster than a diamond sword. So what you can do with this is we can take actually any non-undead mob in the game. So let's take like a bee, maybe grab ourselves, I don't know, let's grab a spider, or I don't know, how about a creeper? So let's just grab these three mobs and try killing them using the Soul Harvester. So as you'll see, it'll drop what looks like a very glitched item. I just haven't gotten to giving it a model or texture yet, just because I don't exactly know which direction I want to go with it. But this is a bee soul. And you can actually obtain one of these from every non-undead mob in the game from killing them with the Soul Harvester. So one thing that's nice about this is it's got a 100% drop rate, unlike the Vimionite dagger, which only has a 10% drop rate. And in addition, it works on every mob. Plus, there's one more perk to it, but I'll show you that in a second here. Let me just take out a creeper with it. Grab that, and you'll see we have now a creeper soul, a spider soul, and a bee soul. So now, if we bring this over here, again, it looks very glitched. That's just because it doesn't actually have a model yet. It's still very much work in progress, like I said. But if we use it on the Necronite Summoner, you'll see it behaves almost exactly like one of the other mob spirits. And here we have a spectral bee. So this spectral bee is going to behave almost exactly like any other one of the former spirit mobs, except that it only has 1 HP. So allow me to show you why this is useful. So if we just get a husk in here, and I bring out the spider soul, the husk can kill that instantly, and it will grow much closer to spawning in an abomination, and it only has to hit it once, whereas it had to chase the sheep around before. So this is very useful for getting the abominations into your world quickly, and it will be obtainable in survival in the coming updates. But again, I'll come back to that when I talk about future development plans. But for now, those are the two main features that are available right now as creative only. We've got the Soul Harvester, and we've got these custom colored torches. Alright, with that said, that covers most of the major features of this update. There are just some changes to note in the changelog. First of all, you may have already seen it, spawning in an abomination now only takes 2 spirit mobs rather than the 5 it did in the previous update. In addition to this, the Vimionic Abomination boss fight has been fixed once again. It was absolutely easy to beat in the previous update, because I left an in-dev version of the rework boss fight in there, so I basically ended up just reverting that and tweaking the numbers on it a bit more. So it should now be a challenge once again. Sorry about that. And other than that, there are just a couple more bug fixes and a lot of internal optimizations, which is where most of the dev time for this update came from, was in just trying to clean up a lot of the code, and there will be more cleanup in the next pre-release, I'm certain. But for now, that basically covers the major changes. So, if, again, you do want to check this out for yourself and play through the rest of the features of the Vimion mod, there's a nice handy tome here to guide you through that, then the download link will be right at the top of the description below. Now, one other thing I will note is that if you want to help support me in making this mod, the 2 most helpful things you can possibly do are, 1, download the mod, give it a try, and, leave a comment, let me know what you think of it, having played with it a bit. I'd love your feedback on it to help me to rebalance it, make it feel more playable, or whatever, I like the way it is, I like the way it feels right now, but I'd love to get your feedback on it. And the second is, if you do find a bug, please let me know by reporting it, and I'm going to let future me take over telling you how to report it. Thanks, past me. So when you come here to the Vimion page linked in the description, if you just click on the issues button here, it will take you over to the GitHub page where you will be able to submit a new issue. So all you have to do is click here on this green button that says new issue, give it a title. So in the title field, specify what the glitch is, and down here you can describe the glitch in a bit of detail and click submit. If you'd like to see a good example of these, you can just click on either of these here and see it's got a adequate description in the title and then a description here. So these are just 2 example issues I made as good examples for how to submit an issue. So, check those out. And yeah, that's one of the best ways you can help me with this mod is by letting me know if you find something that breaks. Back to you, past me. Thank you, future me. So as for future plans with this mod, right now I'm planning on having 1 more, maybe 2 more 1.0 pre-releases, eventually to add in the other new boss, the Lunarionic Abomination, and just to finalize any bugs that may need patching. And then we should have a stable release of 1.0, and then 1.1 should begin to add in the functionality for all of the plasms. Now, as you probably are aware, Minecraft 1.16 was recently released, and so I do fully intend to port the Vimion mod over to that. However, I'm waiting until 1.16.2 is officially released and a stable Forge version is out. Once that happens, I will be porting over to 1.16, but 1.15 development will continue until I fully implemented the feature that will use the plasms. That way, it'll feel like it was worthwhile to collect all the plasms you may have been in the past and may begin doing now. Also, it's becoming nighttime. I need to make it daytime. But either way, that's really the plan for the near future of development of this mod. Again, I hope to keep this going for a while. I have a lot more to share with you that I have planned for it. So I do hope you're as excited for that as I am. And now, with all of that said, that's going to bring us to the end of this mod update showcase. But for now, thank you for watching. Let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments below. This has been Mushroom Man Toad with an update to the Vimion mod, and I'll see you in the next one.